Okay, we're live. Hello. It's Thursday. I'm Kristen Thomas. This is Sup Connect. And every Thursday, I have the pleasure of talking to really interesting people out there in the paddling world from all over the world. We are going to Canada today, so I have my red Olympian shirt that my darling little friend and Olympian Emily Fornell gave me. But super excited to talk to someone. I've been around the paddling world for a while, and often I'm interviewing somebody I have met before. I have not met Marybeth, but I have been totally entertained by her. She has just this awesome Instagram. Actually, we're going to learn about a lot about social media because she does a TikTok too. I am not on TikTok, so I'm not sure how that is, but her partner is a photographer, great pictures, great content, really enjoying just the fun and not so serious way. She's getting really important messages out there. And I have to say, some of her more recent videos are really important and really go like an extra step that I think is really different. But somebody who hasn't been in this a really long time, which I think is great. It's sometimes fun to get that still so motivated people on here. Not that I know I'm not burning out. I don't think we burn out easily, but Marybeth's going to keep us smiling.
I hope so. That's a lot of pressure.
No, not just through the talk. People can go, and follow you and watch your channels. As I was just saying, don't know if you heard the intro, been so entertained by you. You're in Ontario, Canada. What part? And are you on a lake or water?
Yes, I'm in Hamilton, which most people know Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
That's just on Lake Ontario. So Hamilton's just around, I guess, the bay of Lake Ontario from Toronto, about an hour, depending on traffic. And Lake Ontario is one of the Great Lakes.
Great. So you haven't been at this that long, but boy, you just took off, kept popping up in my feed. Again, I love your just sense of fun that you're out there, but also you're getting across messages about like safety and how to get started, and what a better person to do it than someone who hasn't been in it for years. Because I want to later on talk about one of your most recent ones you took to another level of instruction, because people have these questions and I think we forget, like, okay, what if I did pull my PFD? What then? How does that work? So love that you're answering those and doing all that. But let's back up. Like, how did you find the water? What got you started?
Yeah, I've always been a playful personality soul. Never been shy to be myself and just act like a kid. Yeah, always a good time. So it's always funny when people ask me, "Oh, is that an act online?" Not an act. That's 100% my person. So yeah, how did I get started into the water? That's a great question. I guess like way back as a kid, I always just loved being in the water. My parents, very fortunate that they took us to Wasaga Beach, which is on the Georgian Bay side of Lake Ontario. And I got to play a lot, forced swimming lessons, whether I liked it then or not. So I had the skills and the confidence in the water, and I would just play all day. I went to summer camp in Ontario, and I've done a lot of traveling. I'm a big scuba diver. So I've just been drawn to the water in general. My background's in outdoor recreation, parks and tourism. I went to university up in Thunder Bay, which is on another Great Lake, Lake Superior. And so I did a lot of outdoor recreation in kayaking and canoeing, but not necessarily stand-up paddleboarding. So I always had that, draw to the water. I was a sea kayak guide in Byron Bay, Australia for a little bit, which was super rad and super fun. But yeah, SUP just kind of came to me, I guess, if you want me to go down that how I got into SUP as well.
Yeah, well, sadly, I think you mentioned you lost a job, but hey, to our benefit, because you then got yourself aboard, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in the outdoor rec world, and then I had always had a passion for events and team building. If you follow my Instagram or TikTok, you know that I like to wear silly hats and have fun. So I always liked doing theme parties, and I did corporate team building for a while as a job. And when the pandemic hit, I had been working in sponsorships and events, which, as we know, was the first to go because there was nothing in real life. And so I really hummed and hawed spending the money, not having any income, spending the money on a stand-up paddleboard. Having a small 4-door car sedan, I didn't have the ability to also have a hardboard and storage and all that sort of stuff. So that just opened up a new opportunity in terms of getting out on the water again. And I'd been paddleboarding a few times, traveling in Fiji and in Australia and whatnot, but I just never thought to buy my own board. And so I went for it, jumped right in, bought a board, and it obviously changed my life. I know it's a little cheesy and cliche to say, but
No,
I had the best
you're
summer.
not the first to say it, and it's so interesting the different ways that it's changed lives, and so interesting to talk to someone that you got it at the beginning of the pandemic, and then it ended up in North America at least being the first, well, especially maybe down here in the US, the first time we've seen massive numbers of inflatables specifically, because along with events not happening, stores got closed at the beginning. People wanted to get outside, and how do they do it? You know, you order it, you can get an inflatable. And so we saw this massive increase, as you probably know, being an outdoor person, in all outdoor activity, but especially getting on the water, and you jumped in. Love it.
Yeah, totally. I got really lucky. It was a little bit serendipitous. If you know me personally, you know that I do my research to the point where my friends will ask me to go on trips with them, or, you know, what car are you buying next? Because they know Marybeth is going to do the research. And I knew what board I wanted. And if you remember at the start of the pandemic, anything outdoor recreation, whether it was on the water or not, equipment was difficult to find. And so it was honestly the last place I called, in Naramata, BC, out of all places, and they shipped it to me. And then the rest of the summer was amazing.
Yeah. Well, and products are part of what you do and share, and definitely name names. Was that your red?
Yeah, I purchased a red board.
Yeah. So the distributor is over there in BC in the West. So that's awesome that they had one, and you got started. I love the purple one. I know that was a special edition. Was that your?
Yeah, that was the one, you know, and I wanted the Sport 11.3 from Red. And I wasn't picky on the color, but purple is actually my favorite color. So it worked out when the supplier said, oh, we actually have the special edition. Yes.
Yes. You've talked about, you do a lot of fun stuff and hats and all these things. So it's awesome that you have a colorful board to go with all of that.
Yeah.
So we'll get into, because I do want you to talk about equipment that you use in different companies that you work with. I see some online like Vamo right now.
Yeah.
And Kirsten, Ryan, I know. But I want to get back to that, again, your silly side and how fun that is and how different it is. You also seem to be knowledgeable on the whole social media thing. So while it's your personalities, you said you're not acting, this is me, but you're also very studied. So did you know that like video is going to be king of content? Like that's kind of a newer thing. You're on TikTok, and I'm old. Sorry, I'm not on TikTok, but I bet you're big. Like, is that your biggest platform or Instagram?
It used to be Instagram. Now it's TikTok, and I guess we can get into that in a bit. And if people are interested too about social media and content creation, I actually have a whole blog on it, but I do need to update it.
Right.
It sort of just happened. I never went into a plan with, I'm going to go in the water and, you know, be myself, and it's going to turn into this paddle adventure thing. I already had a GoPro from scuba diving. And so, you know, I thought, I'm just out going to have fun and entertain myself. And I quickly realized, that every time I happened to go out, I wore a different hat. It wasn't a costume hat, but it was a ball cap. So I thought, this will be a thing. New day, different hat. And so every time I have a new adventure, I have a new hat. I'm slowly running out, which is okay because I'm at, I don't know, over 100 now. It's a lot of pressure, especially when the weather starts to change and you can't necessarily wear a ball cap. It has to be a toque, as we call it in Canada. Yeah. Or, you know, if it's really hot, a costume hat maybe isn't the most appropriate. But yeah, I just started filming myself and putting it out on my personal social media, and people just started to gravitate towards it. Brands really liked it, my friends, and then I started to have other people from across the world really loving it. And originally Paddle Adventurer started because I didn't want to bug any of my friends who weren't really into paddleboarding. It's like if someone has a cat or a kid, and it's like their social media now is all about that. So I decided to start Paddle Adventure, and it just essentially spiraled from there. Where it really happened, I guess, for me, not necessarily instruction, and that's something that I've been working on. I'm way better at doing it live, going out, having fun, being myself, engaging with the world around me. And it just happens that beavers were in my local area, and I was going nuts because part of me was, wow, there's beavers between the city of Hamilton and Burlington. That's crazy. In my mind, this is, a Canadian creature that's out in the outback in the wilderness, so there's a lot of footage of me going nuts to the point where I became the beaver queen. People send me beaver videos. I'm like connected with beavers. I've got beaver hats. I went out in a Scouts beaver uniform. So that kind of took off a little bit, but it's been more recently that I've been learning in terms of instructing on camera, scripting it, and knowing exactly what I want to deliver, what I want to capture, what angle. And that's just come with time. And I think that's also come with transferring a lot of my skills onto YouTube, which is a longer form content, as well as filmed very differently. It's instead of horizontal, it's filmed vertically. So it's been a whole new world of learning and which is exciting. I love to learn and try new things and build new skills.
That's great. Well, I love how you got started. So don't lose that. Keep adventuring, or you say it a little differently. I like how you spelled it. I stole that. You probably saw. So
yeah,
let's talk about the beginning
too.
and going on adventures. So you told that the beaver stuff is hysterical. You are solo a lot of the time, but I see more and more you have groups with you, behind you. And quick shout out, because I meant to get his name on. Tony, your partner, I believe, was the photographer of that great picture that we used as an asset. And I assume and he's Tony F Photography, right? Is his Instagram handle. So shout out to him and thank him for that. But having a photographer in the household, I would think, even though you're very good at it yourself, he probably has some good ideas and thoughts. And it's good sometimes you can't do it completely selfie GoPro mode.
Oh yeah, I'm obviously so thankful to my partner Tony. Because it's nice to have a professional photographer when we go traveling, and I'm happy to be on camera and taking the shots. Sometimes he sets up the shot and I take shots for him. But yeah, it's great, especially if I'm working with a brand and we need professional shots. All the video stuff, it's great for him to have an eye and help with that. But all the editing has been totally self-taught. But the recent series I wouldn't have been able to do without him, because it would be difficult to capture on a GoPro of me climbing on the board efficiently or blowing up the PFD. So that's been huge. And also a big learning curve, because on those situations, unless I'm in the water, I'm mic'd. I'm not used to that. So it's extra stress because now I'm taking his time away, and I'm like, oh no, I keep screwing up because I'm not great at scripting and rehearsing and delivering it. But I've improved a lot, and it's been a journey. So it's good. I'm excited to do some more things with Tony.
Yeah, like you said, all a learning curve.
Yeah.
So 2020 is when Marybeth bought her board. So it has not been that long, just a few years. But again, it's partly your personality and partly the joy of you finding things for the first time or seeing things for the first time. I think some of your earlier videos really captured that. So talk about some of the places you've gone or adventures you've gone on. And it can be right out our back door. Like, it doesn't always have to be far away. So what are some of your favorite moments maybe from that first year, let's say?
Yeah, so I think, and that's kind of what hooked me to SUP, not only having an inflatable and making it more accessible, but also exploring places that you can't on land, especially in your backyard. To me, that was mind-blowing, going to, it's called Coots Paradise in Hamilton. It's a bay. It's in the Royal Botanical Gardens property. And there's certain little areas about exploring and that are better than others, because unfortunately, I guess 10, 15 years ago, in that little bay harbor, there was a sewage leak. Since the city's been working on cleaning it up, but it has a bad rap. But there's tons of wildlife. To me, it's crystal clear, clean. But some people just hold on to the fact that, there was this mistake happened. But I was blown away. I felt like I was in the middle of a provincial park, and there was literally beavers splashing around. I've seen doe, so a baby deer, fox, eagles, tons of other different birds, minks, you name it. I've honestly seen it all just in between the city of Hamilton and Burlington. So I think for me, that's what really hooked me, that there's all these cool different places, even in your backyard, that you have no idea. So it's that connection again back with nature in a different way.
Yeah, so true. So many times you've been somewhere and you've seen the land view, but you're just not that many feet away, but looking from the water back is just a whole new thing. So yeah, love that.
Absolutely.
And love that. So inspiring, all your adventures. So in following Marybeth, so Instagram is where I found you, but you're a blogger. And again, you're sharing, and it sounds like even increasing your content locations from TikTok, YouTube. You have a website, paddleadventure.com also. So lots of places to find Marybeth and as things expand. So fun what you've done. And again, like brands have found you and you found them. And I think really authentic content creators are what it's all about. I was laughing to my husband and said, I don't think I'm going to have to bleep Marybeth. I never have, but had to bleep anyone. But hey, we both have used language sometimes, but you've shown really real stuff, falling off the board kinds of things. But you're perfect for, let's talk about some of the brands that I know you've shown, like one, who would be better for something called the Little Sucker or Little Sucker?
Yeah.
Just it's something you put on your board that holds your cup, but it's the small things in life are often the best inventions, aren't they? So
Totally.
Mention that and some of the other ones that you use.
Yeah, Little Sucker is great. And it's a bit mind blowing. It's like essentially a neoprene ring that goes around your bottle or your coffee cup. And to me, it was game changing for sunrise paddles with the beavers, because having your cup of coffee is a little bit more challenging unless it fully seals. But even then, and it's just nice, unless you're going out for a fitness paddle and you don't have, camelback or a platypus. It's nice to be able to just grab your drink instead of, unstrapping it from the carabiner or whatever it may be. And it works really well. I would never work with a brand or pump something else that I didn't believe in. The term influencer is so icky to me. Most of my time is content creating. I'm creating things online in terms of editing and all of that. But yeah, I would never push out something that I didn't believe in. Same with Bamo. I know you spoke with Kristen, who works for them as well. They're a great company. I bought one of their leashes to start, Colorful Leashes. So I've been working with them for a while. And who else? I guess Red has been mentioned. And I've worked with another UK brand called Sea Lion, which is also in an inflatable paddleboard. And I work with a Canadian company called Level 6. And that has given me the ability to continue my paddling season into the winter, where that photo's from. And I love winter paddling. It's rare in around the Great Lakes, because the Great Lakes are known for surfing in the wintertime because the winds give it the ability to not freeze over in sections. So then you're always watching the weather, really watching the wind. Oh, it's going to be calm. I'm going out, going to see what the ice formation's like today. So because I have a dry suit, that's being able to open up those doors for me.
Yeah. So yeah, I was going to have you mention that, but you just did. So what other, for those of us who don't paddle in cold weather, what are some other essentials? What do you have on your feet? Or is that
so my dry suit, I know there's so many different types of dry suits. My dry suit's fully sealable, so it's the silicone gaskets. So the only thing open are my hands and my head. My feet are sealed in, so you layer up underneath. So smart layers, wool and polypropylene, all of those outdoor essentials. Again, I have a blog on this. I know I could go into dressing for winter weather as a whole episode. And then I also have 8 millimeters neoprene booties, and then I think there's 7 mil neoprene mitts. and then a toque, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, something I love is that you go beyond just pointing at something like maybe an influencer, which you're not sure, like you said, it's kind of that term, but they're looking for authentic people like you who actually use the stuff and actually, but you go beyond like that little sucker thing, you're shaking your board and showing that, you turn it sideways, it's still on. So if you fall off, it's going to stay on your board. And most recently, so I did want to mention that one just because I thought it was fantastic. I've never seen anyone follow up. You have a nice new video on using your on PFDs and the different kinds and stuff and talking about the blowable. But then I don't know if you had questions in your own head or if somebody asked you questions, and then talk about like how
so I guess we'll rewind a bit. Mustang Survival, they sent me the rearming kit for my inflatable waist belt PFD. Yeah, thanks Mustang. Thanks to all the brands. I mean, it's like, sorry if I forgot anything. I'm just excited to be chatting. Because who doesn't want to pull that cord on their PFD? Like, that's just one of those things. Don't press the button, but you want to press the button. So they were kind enough to send that to me, and of course I had to catch on video. And usually on video, I try and think of everything that people are going to want to see and everything that I want to learn, but nothing's ever going to be perfect. That's the thing. It's always hard letting go of a video because you're like, okay, this is the best job I could do. And then someone will have a suggestion. You're like, oh, I wish I thought of that. So someone actually said, did you try putting on your inflatable waist belt PFD, inflate it, and getting back on your board? So I was curious when I filmed the video, getting back on your board. I made sure I had a bunch of PFDs because everyone has different PFDs. Everyone has a bunch of boards. Everyone's abilities are different. So I tried to capture as much as I could. And yeah, it was fascinating. It was totally doable to get back on. Definitely like choked up a little bit, but I assume if you're in that situation where you're pulling the cord, it's likely an emergency. I hope you're not just jumping off and pulling your cord. I mean, have fun, do it. But the other thing that I tested too was treading water while inflating it manually in the case that a CO2 canister wouldn't go because you haven't done maintenance or problems or issues happen. So that was fascinating too. It was exhausting, but it was doable. But again, I'm fairly strong swimmer coming from a big water background. So I definitely would not recommend wearing an inflatable waist belt unless you're a swimmer.
Yeah, agree. But that, again, you took it all those steps past and showed and tried it out yourself and showed it. And you'd be surprised, yeah, we want to pull that tab, but most people never do. Most people do not maintain these. Yeah. Me included. I can't say that I do every year like you should. So another thing to talk about with Mustang Survival is, and people don't know where you would get another canister or how you do that. So a lot more education needed and continued. And I hope your video gets out there and that word gets spread. What kinds of other questions have come back? Have there been other ones about things?
I'm sure there has. Where I'm finding it difficult is I have full YouTube on information, and then chopping it and making it A, short enough for Instagram, and B, the right frames can be tricky. So I've gotten a little bit better about that with the getting back on and how to, but you can only cover so much on Instagram. So, sending people, go to YouTube, all that information's there, or go to my blog, that's there. But I'm finding that people are, if they're on Instagram or TikTok, the short form video is what they like to consume. YouTube's a whole different world. It doesn't usually convert over. But yeah, other questions, winter paddling usually comes up a lot. And that's where my blog started. Actually, it started out of my own research of, I can't find places to paddle. And if I can, what does the launch look like? What are the wind directions? What do I have to, parking, all of that good stuff. So that's actually where my blog started. Again, I'd like to learn, and I wanted to learn how to build a website. So then my blog started with wanting to learn and having the time and having resources for people starting out or just looking to get out. So I get a lot of questions about, capturing content's another one. What my mount is on my paddleboard is a big one. How are you capturing that? And then, what am I wearing in terms of winter paddling? And all of that exists on my blog. And hopefully, eventually, all of that will exist in a YouTube video format for people who prefer the video format.
Yeah. Oh, it's great to have both because, like you said, there's so much to put out there, and yet people often only digest small amounts of information at a time. So good to have the
Yeah.
short. You know, they say that people don't read, you know, they only read so far. Yeah, which is a
Yeah.
tough one. So,
But it's great building that resource library in order to provide that and help people. And, you know, I think that's what is, maybe I'm just speaking out loud, but maybe what has attracted people to me is that I'm relatable and that, you know, let's try it. It's not always about being serious. Like paddleboard can be going out there and just sitting, watching the sunset. You know, like go out, have fun. Don't be scared to fall in, be yourself. Who cares what people are thinking you look like? I mean, I put on a pretty good show often when I'm out in costume or when I'm goofing around, skipping rope on my paddleboard. You know, it's just, that's the best, is when you just let loose and do what you want to do, be a kid again.
I love that. And yeah, I think you've done some things I haven't seen, like jumping rope on the paddleboard.
If it's fun, I'm on board with it.
If you're fun, you're on it.
Yeah.
So interesting that you've traveled a lot, and of course COVID slowed us down and other things, but so of the places, sounds like you've been some amazing places, water places in the world. Are there do you have a list of places you'd love to paddleboard that you hope to get back to, or
Yeah,
maybe haven't been to yet?
Definitely on my list is Tahoe, Lake Tahoe. Luckily, my brother and sister-in-law live in San Francisco. And last year I did Yosemite, not paddling. I went this time of year, so you would need cold water gear and to pack your wetsuit or, you know, neoprene. That would be a little bit much. But next time I go, especially now they have boards, I would 100% pack all of that. So I think Tahoe's up there. I would love to do something crazy like Antarctica, or icebergs or anything like that. That's a little bit more wild and out there. But yeah, I don't know. Anything that's, you know, water. Like I said, I'm a big scuba diver. So scuba diving and paddleboarding, especially if you combine that, that'd be wicked. Taking the tanks on the paddleboards and go diving.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, anywhere that is warm or cold, and I've got the gear for it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen scuba off a board, but it probably exists. But I definitely snorkel in my town because we have a lot of kelp. So you can just leave your board in the kelp, kind of tie it up there on a calmer day. Like you said, what you look for in the winter when there isn't a lot of swell action or wind action. And it's beautiful. Then you just like hop off and go swimming down below.
Yeah. You're in California too, correct?
Yeah, I am. I'm in Southern California, but I'm actually driving to San Francisco. So if your in-laws are around, they should go to Battle of the Bay in Sausalito.
Okay.
And meet the paddle community, even if they don't want to race. But
amazing. That's this weekend?
This Saturday. I'm driving up to that, but I'm way down in Southern California, a big state. But Tahoe, highly recommend. Great place to go.
Yeah, Alaska too. I've been seeing a lot of people, because I love ice. I love little things. I like going out and taking my time and exploring the little things. And there's been a lot of posts I've been seeing of Alaska and people paddling in and around the ice and glaciers. Looks wild.
Yeah.
So that would be another thing too. Really cool.
But that picture we used of you is amazing. And is that just right nearby on?
Yeah, that's
Ontario?
Hamilton Beach, right on Lake Ontario, right in the bay. Again, timing has to be pretty perfect, but I've had some pretty cool ice adventures. Yeah. I'm excited. There's more prep and safety that has to go into winter paddling, but I'm really excited to, at the end of the season, I'm like, oh, I can't wait to not be in my dry suit every time. But now I'm kind of excited to put it on again and get out.
So you're moving back into that. That's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
I think you have such a good point, Marybeth, about enjoying where you are, because I think I get into this travel thing a little too much. It's where my season of life is, and I want to go somewhere. But taking advantage of getting a new perspective by being in the water, and what you just said about like recognizing and enjoying the little things is so important. And I love coming back home and paddling my own waters and, you know, what will I see today and how will it be different, even if it's just a little bit.
Yeah, it's such a different connection, right? I've gone out to do cleanups on my paddleboard. You just feel more connected with your community and with the environment. And there's so much to learn locally.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another great part of our our community, I think, water community. And I don't know that it's just stand-up paddleboarding. I think it's others too. Having that water connection makes us much more aware, I think, of environmental issues around water. And you talk about cleanups or, pollution issues and everything around that.
Yeah.
Finding other replacing plastics and that kind of thing. Lots of good stuff like that out there. Well, how about some tips? So again, getting out for the first time. You've given us some already, but just about the fun. Sorry, this scrolling you're seeing, but they don't see, I don't think. Yay to cleanups. James, who's on here, is a photographer, leads cleanups down here. If you ever want to travel to do those, that's another great paddleboarding. But some tips about just getting started, and maybe inflatable use, maybe other basics.
Yeah, I'd say, safety is obviously number one. So making sure that you're taking a lesson is always really important. So you're aware of what is needed and how, like, the basics. But beyond that is just going out and having fun. Playing, honestly, the best time on the paddleboard I've had is just playing around. You learn a lot about your own balance, about learning your board's balance, and not caring what people think about. I think that's would be my number one tip with starting out is don't be afraid to try something. What's the worst that's going to happen? If you're in a safe environment, you're going to fall and get wet. And if you planned, it's not going to be cold water. You'd be able to, get back on your board or have a friend help you and just enjoy yourself. Don't take the pressure on. It has to be something. Make it whatever you want to make it.
I love that. And I think people need to fall in. Like the people who say they never want to get wet, like, well, that's not safety wise. You need to fall in to make sure you can do, like you've talked about, getting back on your board and everything like that is so essential. So,
yeah. And falling is actually, if you're a safe environment, it is so much fun.
Yeah. Have fun with it. Agreed.
Yeah.
Well, you certainly do have fun in all of your doing. Just absolutely love that. You've, again, 3 years in or less than 3 years in, you've had your inflatable, you've done amazing things on and off the water with what you're doing. Do you have other types of paddling you'd like to do? We talked about places and adventures, but how about surfing or whitewater or winging or foiling, any of those of interest?
Yeah, I want to do it all, but
all of it.
It's like a lot.
Good answer.
Yeah. As long as it has nothing to do with heights, that's like my fear. One of my videos from out west that takes you on a emotional journey of me trying to cross Canada's highest sky bridge. Spoiler alert, I do it. So that was a good time. But yeah, anything that's adventure of some sort, I'm on board for. I'm hoping to get into winter Great Lakes surfing. I'm lucky enough that my neighbor gifted me his old longboard, prone paddling. Yeah, and I also recently won a gift card from a raffle from Lake Surfista, which is a group of women community for Great Lakes surfing. So I'm hoping to get into that. But anytime I do river paddling, I always want to do more whitewater. So hopefully one time when I'm out west, I'll try some whitewater something. So it looks pretty rad.
Yeah, very fun. There's some place near Barrie or Ontario where you've got some good rivers there for whitewater.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll have to wait till the spring now, but
yeah, cool. Well, again, love where you've taken things. You did mention, and why not, social media, since so many, we're on Instagram, what you've seen sort of like works, because you're making the best of everything. You have longer content and you're doing these videos for YouTube, and you have a blog and a website, and then lots of fun short content, both TikTok and Instagram. Is that?
Yeah. So because Instagram is pushing the reels, right? So video format.
Mm-hmm.
And usually it has to be quick, snappy. And I'm no expert in what the algorithm doing. Nobody is. Things are always changing. But I was already making videos, so I just decided to put on TikTok. And I gave up a few times because it was just not working for me. And I'm a classic millennial, right? It's all the Gen Z folks that are on there, although that's not true anymore. but I just started coming at it consistently. And I think that's key, doing what type of content you can do and how much you can do a week consistently. So I started throwing that up consistently. And one of my super random videos went viral. It's me in Rockwood Conservation Area, which is a small conservation area in Ontario. And I'm exploring as I always do. There's a big dock spider in the rock walls. There's a raccoon. There's a sunken log. And I don't know why, but it went viral. I think it has like 5.5 million views now or something.
Oh, wow.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Which hat? Did you have a hat on? Was it the hat?
No, it was just a normal hat. It was actually a hat with my logo on it, but It was just me on a rock adventure. Yeah, so you never know. But yeah, it's all about consistency and finding what works for you. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you're having fun doing it, then like who cares, unless you're really trying to push it to be something.
Yeah.
But
well, that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Well, you do have a unique presence or self, as we are ourselves, and good for you for being fun and sharing that enthusiastic side. And I think that makes people want to do it, which is growing and bringing people to something we love. I think whether that's your primary reason or not for doing it, like you said, having fun's the most important, but how nice that what you're doing and sharing, being out there having fun in such a unique way. I feel like you're becoming a biology teacher too, right? Like
totally. I know anytime I'm out, I start making things up because, I'm just having fun, and then people take it serious. Like, oh my God, there's crocodiles in Canada. So I say, oh, it's the Canadian crocodile. I'm like, no, like there's no, like I'm just being goofy and like having fun. But then it encourages me, especially when I'm doing my YouTube. I'm like, ooh, yeah, what was that particular plant or animal? Because sometimes I'll think it's, a hairy woodpecker, and then it's a downy woodpecker, and I have to I correct it. I'm like, I need to just stop saying things and then look it up later and then put it
Don't stop. Like if people are watching you, they know that you're having fun and being, silly and goofy, but it is educational too. And, but I do love the balanced, sounds like they're more work, but the scripted ones that you've done recently are really valuable too, because I don't feel like there's enough out there. It is still, even as we've come out of the pandemic, it's still how people Google more, or whatever you want to call it. That's not the right generic term for it, but they ask Siri, they research things, or just asking. And then if you have content that's been hit on a lot, they're going to find you and get some great information from you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, TikTok, for example, is trying to become one of the top search engine optimization. So that's a prime example right there. I totally appreciate that. I love being able to give people some useful information and really encourage them to get outside, making it as accessible as possible from a virtual standpoint.
Well, you are doing just that. So thanks for all you're doing, Marybeth. Absolutely fantastic to meet you. Do you want to list again where people can find you? It's pretty much Paddle Adventure, right?
Yeah, my YouTube channel's Paddle Adventure. Yeah, Instagram and TikTok are all Paddle Adventure. And then my website's paddleadventure.com. I've kept it consistent.
Consistency.
Yeah.
Well, what an amazing balance to have your fun personality, but also be someone who does do their research. And yes, as Ethan's saying, love the fun and engaging content you're creating, Marybeth. Keep it up.
Yeah, I just recently met Ethan for YouTube because he just started his YouTube journey, and I'm just starting my YouTube journey as well.
Great. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I appreciate this so much. I'm so honored and humbled that you asked me, and this has been a ton of fun. And hopefully one day I'll meet you in California.
Yes, come meet in California. That's right. I mean, visit the in-laws in the Bay Area, which is beautiful, but also come down to Southern California too. Yes. Although I try to get up there a lot. Do love it up there too.
Yeah.
So thank you again. You guys can find her on all the different places she just listed. Remember that this little recording immediately goes to IGTV, and then we get it on our YouTube, both SubConnect and KT Outside is mine. You're welcome, James and Joseph and everybody listening. Love that we have some regulars, and then we have new people that come in all the time. And thanks again, Marybeth. Be well. And yeah, hope to meet you someday soon.
Awesome. Appreciate you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.